So the Ortgies is a name that doesn't roll off the tongue like, say, Walther. But this gun was very popular. It was used for personal protection in Germany in the 1920s, and actually is in a lot of drawers even today.
The Ortgies pistol is one of those underappreciated handgun designs from the early 20th century. And it has a really pretty fascinating story behind it. Now, Ortgies is not a particularly attractive name, but it is the name of the man who started the Ortgies Company and bought the Ortgies handgun design, Heinrich Ortgies. Now, he was a salesman. He had spent a lot of time in Eastern Europe. And after the end of World War I, he bought a design from a man named Karl August Brune, who allegedly was an FN employee, or at least otherwise employed in gun making in the Liège, Belgium area. And with this design, Ortgies began his Ortgies Company and began producing the Ortgies pistol.
Kind of an interesting little pistol that was exported to the United States in considerable numbers based upon the examples that turn up today. The gun was produced for a fairly short period of time, from 1919 to about 1923, 1924. It's an interesting little blowback auto. It had virtually no screws in it. Even the grips were held on by springs. And its safety arrangement was unique in that it had on the back strap what looks like a standard grip safety. So when you actually grasp the gun to fire it, you push this lever in, this safety, and the gun was ready to fire. When you wanted to take it out of service, there was a little button on the side, and you push that little button, and the gun was on safe.
The Ortgies Company itself only made about 16,000 guns until they were bought out by Deutsche Werke in 1921. And Deutsche Werke at that time, it was a known shipbuilding concern, but they were looking for some avenues to really rebuild their commercial prospects in the post-war era, in the Weimar era. And it seemed like building these guns would be a pretty good market for them. And they built a lot of these guns. Deutsche Werke from 1921 until the end of 1923, early 1924, ended up building 400,000 Ortgies pistols. One of the things about the Ortgies that people think is they think that it was some kind of secondary, Wehrmacht issue arm. And so there's a lot of, returning Allied servicemen who have these guns with capture papers. And, the stories, of course, float around that it was taken off of some German officer or whatever. But these guns had been out of production for 15 years by the time World War II started. So the Wehrmacht wasn't going around collecting these to issue out again. Really what happened is that after the war ended, a lot of private and police arms had been confiscated by the Allies. And so occupying servicemen came in at the end of the war and were able to, grab a war souvenir from these stashes of guns and claim it as their own personal war trophy.
As noted, the guns were very, very popular export pieces. They were used in the United States. Probably the most notorious wielder of an Ortgies pistol was John Dillinger, although his name was really actually pronounced Dillinger. I know this because I saw an interview with his father that was done in a newsreel fairly soon after he died. And actually his extant firearm is in the FBI Museum in Washington, D.C.
The gun never found a contract with the military whatsoever. And so as a collector's item, this very fine gun that was manufactured only in the 1920s during the Weimar period never found a collecting base as far as anyone truly becoming interested in them. You find a lot of them in great condition because they just didn't see a lot of use.